welcome back to the Business Theatre. And for those of you who haven't been yet, welcome to the Business Theatre. I'm Amy. I'm really pleased to be chairing the Business Theatre today. As technology lawyer, I'm very excited about our next talk. So please help me in welcoming Will Roberts, who is the founder of WebBox. And Will is going to be talking to us about how care providers can turn their website, AI, and digital marketing into a growth engine, which I'm sure we'll all agree is absolutely important and fundamental in our technology-enabled world. So without further ado, here's Will Roberts.
Great. Thank you so much. So as Amy said, I'm Will. I founded WebBox 17 years ago now, and we help care operators with their websites, incorporating AI and making the most out of digital marketing. So I'm going to share some of the insights that we built up over that time with you today, and hopefully leave you with some actionable things that you could take away. Now, it might be that you actually look after the website internally, maybe for a marketing team or maybe an external marketing agency. At whatever level you're at, hoping there's things that you can take away today as part of this talk. Now, kind of thing is just, people talk about housekeeping, don't they? Kind of thing is just before we get going. So we're trying to record this session today. So if you've got a marketing team or maybe an external provider and you want to share a copy of that with them, please come and see us afterwards and we can give you a copy of the recording. I'm also going to run through these points relatively quickly and at surface level. So if you want to go deeper afterwards, please just come and grab us. And we'd also love your feedback on our talks. So the overview of this talk is I'm going to start with some fundamentals. I'm going to give you 7 principles as to what a high-performing care website needs. I'm going to move on to then more complex things in terms of how to get more interested in AI and how to then use digital marketing to drive that growth that we're looking for. So without further ado, why does your website still matter? Well, we've been at the Care Show for the last, yesterday and today, and we've spoken to so many people who have mentioned that their website is just maybe a bit dormant, it hasn't been updated for a while, and they don't rely on it. Maybe they get a lot of their work through referrals, and that's absolutely fine, but it is still that signpost and an opportunity to build trust with your audience. So regardless of where your work comes from, whether it's primarily private or whether it's through referral, people will check out your website to understand everything from who the manager might be through to your expertise or CQC rating and other things. So it's really important that our website reflects the organization and puts us in the best possible light. So I want to give you, as I said, 7 essentials that your website needs to make the most out of this opportunity. So the first one is having really clear user journeys. As care operators, you've got a lot of audience groups that will hit your site. So you'll have those who are looking for care. You'll have families who are looking for care for their loved ones. You will have then people looking for a job. You might even have investors if you're a larger group. All of these user groups need a clear user journey to go from the whole page through to a particular call to action. And again, so often when we audit a care website, there's no clear user journey to go from A to B. Now, it's really important that we assess this and look at it through external eyes to understand how we can get people through to that conversion point. And number 2 is how to find a care home. So it's really important that we understand that as maybe a larger group, you might have a handful of care homes or you might have hundreds of care homes. It's important that people can find a particular one that's appropriate for their needs and appropriate from a location perspective very quickly. And again, we audit a lot of sites where you hit onto the kind of maybe care homes page, and it's very difficult to find one that maybe handles a particular treatment or condition. You might be looking for dementia care within a particular city. And it's very difficult to get through to that point. Whereas allowing someone to just put a postcode in and a condition and getting through to that point really quickly is key to this user journey. And number 3, this is a really biggie, is accessibility. So the stat says that 1 in 4 people within the UK live with some form of disability. And it's important, therefore, that our websites are accessible to the widest possible range of users. Now, regardless of whether that might be a visual impairment or something different, you are catering for that segment, but also improving the experience of the website for everyone that uses the site. Now, accessibility is something that we talk a lot about, and we've given talks specifically on it as a topic. But allowing someone to adjust the visual layout of a website or increase the font size or change the contrast can make a huge difference to those who are browsing your site and might need that kind of functionality. And there is specific information on our website about a new upcoming accessibility guideline, which is the WCAG 3.0. So if you're interested in this topic, I really encourage you to take a look at that post. Then moving on to number 4, it's essential that our websites are mobile first and they're fast to load. With a generation coming up now which are tech savvy, especially those who are looking for care for their loved ones, maybe their parents and so on, they are now the generation that are very comfortable with websites. They are very comfortable with social media and so on. And therefore, their expectations are higher than they ever have been. So it's really important that we look at the website on a mobile device, we understand its experience, its page speed, and make it the best that it possibly can be, because as the stat says, over 70% of your users, on average, will be using a mobile device versus a desktop device. Appreciate these stats are all relative, and it might be different for each organization here, but that is the industry average at the moment. Now, focusing on mobile-first approach and making the website fast isn't just beneficial, it's not a vanity thing, but there's also real benefits when it comes to ranking in Google. So Google are really clear that they will rank your website higher, but it is quick to load, and therefore they've actually created a page speed tool that you could actually benchmark your site. So it's really important that we focus on these things to get more visibility. Number 5, our content has to inform and it has to reassure our audience. It's really important within an industry that's full of jargon to speak plain English, to speak with empathy, and to make sure that we're meeting the user where they are. Okay, so it's really important that we look at the written language, the imagery on our website, and sometimes having that externally assessed could be beneficial, so that maybe someone outside of just your care home is giving feedback on a first impression when they read that content. Again, so often we might read content on websites that maybe doesn't represent that care home, or it's maybe it's quite pragmatic and it's not warm in its tone of voice. These things can adjust your conversion level based on, should I pick up the phone and inquire, or am I just put off at that point? So they are real measures of how we can get better performance from our sites. Now, number 6 is all about having clear call to actions on your website. Now, when someone comes to a website, obviously they want to find out more about you and understand whether your care homes are appropriate for their needs. But actually, we also want to turn that into a conversion. And that conversion point on a website is either going to be making a phone call, book a visit, an inquiry, something of that ilk. It's really important that we make this clear, but we also make it clear with empathetic language. So we're not kind of waving a red flag, kind of going, buy this, but it's using language such as it says on screen, how can we help or talk to our team that is more empathetic and softer in the circumstances. Little things make the difference to drive that inquiry into your organization. Whilst I touch on this point, I'd also encourage you to think about what we call secondary call to actions. So a primary call to action is someone might phone, inquire, or book a visit. But if you think about yourself, if you put yourself in that position, it's actually quite a big step for someone to book a visit. So start to think about what a secondary call to action looks like for you in your organization. That could be something like downloading a brochure. And you could still at that point capture someone's details, but it's a softer way to allow them to engage with you, because actually the book a visit could be one step too far for them at that point as well. Moving through to our 7th and final tip for a website is this trust factor. Do you know, as I stand in front of care providers, and I've spoken to many over the years, when they talk about their care home, the care they provide, it is just warming to hear, and it is so lovely. But actually, to get that across on a website is incredibly difficult. To get that feeling across of trust, empathy, is really difficult. So actually, what we need to do is work on the mechanism of building trust digitally before someone has even stepped foot into the care home for a visit. Now, there's a number of ways we can do this, and I'm sure you're doing some of them already. So the natural is showing your ratings from C2C or an equivalent body, where you obviously want to build trust that way. But there are so many other ways. You might have testimonials or stories and on the website to demonstrate the kind of culture that you have at the care home. One step further you could go is video testimonials, which give a real sense of trust. Because the written ones are great, but of course, there's a lot of skepticism online there, and some people might think they're not genuine. So actually, video testimonials, someone actually talking about how you took them from that initial visit through to stepping into the care home and moving in, is a really, really powerful mechanism. Now, given 7 tips on kind of how to improve your website experience, and I want to kind of take this up another level to understand how AI could play a factor in this. Now, as we know, AI is this thing like we need to be concerned of like in 3 years' time. It's here, it's happening now, and it's impacting user journeys on websites immediately. And what we're finding is that actually it's shaping how people find care services. You might not even be aware that you have visited a website which is adjusting the content or some form of personalization on that website in the background using AI. You wouldn't even be aware of this happening, but some of the largest providers are already doing it and we're implementing it for them. Now, the big part of AI is how can we personalize a website to that specific user? And personalization is one of the biggest features within this world. Now, let me give you a quick example of what I mean by personalization. So on this little video, there's a landing page, and the user on the left sees a particular version of that page, and the user on the right sees a different version of the page. So as you'll notice, the image changed and the content changed, but the web page is the same. It's the same link, it's the same URL, but it changes based on the user. Now, how does that happen? It happens because the website knows that there's a difference between the two users. It's built up an understanding as to kind of what it is that they're interested in. So this could be things like they're reading content about dementia care versus autism, or they're based in this city and not that city. And it starts to build up a picture of that user and tailors the content accordingly. Now, little things, especially for larger groups who have care homes all over the UK, to personalize the content specific to a location can have a huge impact on your engagement rate. Now, AI is a huge topic, as you can imagine. It could be a talk in its own. So I'm going to kind of touch it on surface level today. But if you want to delve into this a little bit deeper, please program us. So we've talked about websites. We've talked about how we can kind of personalize the experience using AI. We want to go to that next step now, which is how do we maximize what we've got? How do we get more people through to the website? And the first process, I'm sure you've heard of this, is a process called SEO, which is how we can get a website to rank higher on Google. Now, a lot of care providers will already be doing this, but again, we've spoken to so many over the years where they will admit themselves they can't easily be found online. And as I mentioned earlier, we are living in a generation where more and more people are quite tech savvy, and their first port of call will be to go to Google and to find what they're looking for. And therefore, it's really important that your website can be found easily and takes you through a really seamless user journey. So with SEO, what can it do? It can increase your rankings so that you're higher up on Google, you're found in more searches, leading more people through to your website. Now, hopefully this is something you're already doing, but this is an ongoing process. It's something which can take some time. It's more of a medium or long-term strategy to get more exposure to your site. So what could you potentially do in the shorter term? Well, this is something we're finding a huge amount of success with our clients already, which is driving traffic through to a website using pay-per-click. So it's an expression called PPC. So I'm sure you've all been on a Google search before. You'll see adverts at the top. So that's Google Ads. Or you maybe you're on Facebook, Instagram, and you've seen ads. Again, these are things which can get you in front of a target audience very, very quickly and drive action. And why this is so effective in the moment especially is because so many people are losing traffic because of the AI overviews on a Google page. So when you do a search, where can I get dementia care for my grandma? You get these AI overviews at the top, which is taking people through to information and not leading them through to an inquiry. Whereas ads removes that noise. Through ads, you drive people through to your website, through to engagement, and you do that very quickly. You do it in a very targeted way as well. So you can target people based on very basic demographics, things like gender, age, location, but you can use incredibly tailored intent targeting so we can get data from experience and target people through household income, as an example. You can really take that to the next level to make sure that your ads are shown to the right audience at the right time. And I mentioned the word intent. Intent is really key here because some people might be at the stage of wanting a visit, an inquiry. Others might just be researching, and understanding where they are in that journey can help maximize the effectiveness of your paid activity. Now, both of these tactics, whether it's SEO or pay-per-click, could be used together, or you might do one or the other. But it's a real debate in the industry as to kind of which is more worthwhile. My argument at the moment is that if we're looking for real growth, pay-per-click is the way forward. You will find a very, very transparent way of tracking how many people are actually coming through an inquiry or booking a visit or downloading a brochure. All of that is very, very transparent. And SEO is a little bit grey at the moment with lots of AI changes. So that's just my thoughts on which might be more appropriate for you if you're looking for growth at the moment. We have given a talk specifically on this topic. So if you have experience of this, or maybe you're a marketing team that are doing both of these activities, and you're wondering how to weigh up the two, you can use that QR code, catch up on a webinar we delivered specifically around the pros and cons of running SEO and pay-per-click. Now, with all of this, it's all in vain if we can't measure it, okay? So we can do a lot of advertising and marketing, and you can have a fantastic website, but if you can't measure the success, then I would argue you're doing it in vain. So you need to start to turn the data that your website and these campaigns gather into something more meaningful. So I won't ask for a show of hands or anything, but I would ask questions like, are you currently using things like Google Analytics to understand how many people come to the website? Are you tracking what they do on the website? Do you change the experience on the website once they've converted? There's so many layers that you can go to, but it's important that we learn through this data, because when we're making decisions on our own based on gut feel, we're highly likely to make the wrong decisions. So when we say we're going to rebuild our landing page on our website to make it, more engaging, so I think we should move this block up and change that color. This is just personal preference. And even if I were to suggest it after doing this for 17 years, I'm talking about personal preference this year and what I've kind of seen work in the industry. There's nothing better than relying on the data. And if you've got enough tracking in place, you can start to get really detailed about what works and what doesn't. So we are real advocates, as they'll say on our sign here, of having data-driven websites and marketing campaigns that allow you to make informed decisions so that you can actually get more efficiency from your digital activity. And to adopt this level of always, wanting the best conversion rates. So adopt a culture within the organization of always evolving your website and marketing campaign based on data. And a really easy way to do this, if you're looking for a starting point, because it might sound complicated, is have a little look at this platform called Hotjar. You can install it onto your site and it will start to give you more understanding about how people engage with your content. So you'll get things like a heat map where you see how far down do they scroll on a page. So when they're thinking about a care home page where you've got information about what that care home provides and the manager and FAQs and so on, actually if the data says that people are just not getting down to that level, the depth, then start to change the layouts. So you let the data dictate that. Hotjar can also, you might be surprised to hear, record your session so that you can look at screen recordings of someone using your website and you can see where they move their mouse, which is where their eyes are. Okay, and you can watch back these videos, believe it or not, and understand how people are engaging. A key driver here is understanding where the blockers are. So where do people drop out of the process? Where are they getting stuck as they navigate around your website? And through these videos, you can start to see that. So if you haven't got it already, you can have a free tool by installing Hotjar on your site. Okay, so a couple of key takeaways just as we draw towards the end. So in our opinion, and from our experience of working with care providers, your website is your number one marketing activity. It has a much bigger impact on where people choose to send a relative than maybe you might appreciate. Even if it's used as a credibility tool before a visit, it is a stepping stone in that journey, and therefore we need to prioritize our website experience. Secondly, if you're looking to explore this further, we need to look at how AI can tailor the experience of the site. Especially if you're an operator with multiple care homes, you should be starting to use AI on your website to tailor the content as to what people are using the site for. Third point is start to consider how you can get more exposure on your website. At the moment, you might say, well, actually, it's not doing much for us. We're not really driving any inquiries or visits. Well, these are the things that you need to do to turn that around. So you need to start thinking about how SEO and PPC can play a part in your marketing journey. And fourth, a big fan of this, but you've got to measure and evolve with the data. So if you're running this blindly at the moment and just hoping that this is going to stick, then you're probably going to be wasting your time. It's really important that you measure what matters, that you understand how people are engaging with the site so that you can improve it more. Now, before we have a quick time of questions, I just want to share a few things with you. So as a kind of provider to a lot of care organizations, we're offering today a website or PPC audit. So if you feel like your website maybe isn't meeting the mark, maybe it's not driving inquiries, they kind of see us at the stand over there. You won't miss us. We're literally just to my left. And you can request today an audit where one of our team will look through your website or any marketing activity that you're doing without running any automated tools and give you a list of recommendations to turn your website into that growth engine that you're looking for. Secondly, we've got a ton of resources that we'd love to give you. Whether you're looking to redevelop your website and you need to write a brief, whether you're looking to get more from Facebook ads, whether you're thinking about exploring clearer user journeys on your website, come and see us. We can give you a QR code and you can go and download these documents. And finally, we give a lot of these talks and we do a lot of them virtually. And I'm actually going to give this talk again as a webinar over the next couple of weeks. So if you've got people in your team who could benefit from hearing this talk and they want to join a webinar, or maybe a marketing team internally, please feel free to check out our Eventbrite page. If you're very welcome to sign up and join that session. So for now, I think we've got a few minutes just for questions. So if there are any questions, we'll pass the mic around and I'd like to answer them.
Hi, it's Lee Taylor, King Glen Care Homes. Pay-per-click. I can imagine if you're retail and someone's shopping for trainers, they're looking around, they're going to get an ad come up. With a care home, that's very different. How can pay-per-click get people interested in a care home? Is it worth the money that we're going to spend?
Really good question. Absolutely, yes, it is. So with pay-per-click, if we just use specifically Google Ads, because there's loads of channels you can explore. So if you think about someone who is exploring a care home for maybe a family member, they go to Google and search for someone quite specific, a care home that specializes in dementia. What will normally happen is on a Google search results page, you will find at the top AI overviews where you've got lots of questions and answers. You'll find map listings. So actually, even if you're doing really well with SEO and you're ranking, first, second, or third, you're very, very far down that Google search engine results page. Ads overcomes that by paying Google so that you just appear straight to the top. The beauty of it, though, is it's incredibly transparent. So at the end of a month, you can say, okay, I've spent X with Google to promote the care organization's website, but you track the conversions or the actions on the site. So you track exactly how many people have downloaded a brochure, booked a visit, made a phone call, and so on. So you have a very clear understanding as to what we call a cost per acquisition. So I would say from the campaigns that we look after and the data we've got, it's the quickest and most effective way to drive inquiries in. Thank you.
It's actually the way forward GEO, which then means that you're going to be popping up in that AI as opposed to pay-per-click.
Yes, so we actually give a talk specifically on that, where you need to optimize the content of your website and tag it appropriately so that you could have a chance of appearing in things like AI overviews, or even if someone did a search in ChatGPT or another LLM, then you could have the chance of appearing there. The key difference, though, and this is really important, is the intent. So you can get a lot of exposure or impressions that way by answering someone's question, but the intent is often not to place themselves or a family member in a care home at that time. So the key difference is, yes, we need to work on GEO and making sure that we're fans within AI, chatbots and LLMs, but the intent, I would argue, is very, very different. Okay, great. If there are any other questions, I'll be around afterwards. Please feel free to kind of grab me. So just as a quick reminder, our stand is here. If you do want to request an audit or any of the resources that I've spoken about today, you're very welcome to kind of grab a card from the desk. But for now, I just want to say a massive thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this, and I hope it's been very helpful. So thank you.